All right, everyone, here we go. Permissionless 2023 coming up. I'm here with Sticks Intern. We fly out to Austin here September 10th. The conference starts September 11th through the 13th, the largest DeFi conference in the world. Super, super excited about this. There are going to be 7,000 people all talking about DeFi. The Bankless guys are going to be a sponsor, as long as the Blockworks guys as well. So super, super psyched about this. Before we get started, though, Sticks Intern, tell people who you are that don't know you. What is it you do, and what got you into Web3?
Oh, awesome. I love this story. I am an attorney, and for a living, I represent some big business clients in litigation with each other. So, breach of contracts. And I also do constitutional litigation. In my, alter ego life, I am Sticks Intern, where I am a DeFi Kingdoms meme generator, is the title I've given myself. Spend a lot of time active on Twitter, posting those memes with pictures of the bloater fish right here, this little guy. And how I got into Web3. Well, part of it is from a work research project, which led me to Bankless, an episode with SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce that they did, I think, in March or April of 2021. And after I heard that podcast, I started listening to it more. And that combined with, just some other factors in my personal life, friends who had been into it that I talked to, that I followed the rabbit hole one step deeper every single week. And, now here I am.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to be going to this with you. It's going to be really fun. I found out last week that I got accepted into the hackathon. So I'm going to be getting there a day early and doing some hacking, some Solidity programming. So that'll be fun as well. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. There's going to be such an incredible list of speakers there. I mean, I am super, super psyched about that. Let's go through a couple of them right now and see what we've got. Of course, we've
Oh,
got the
yeah.
keynote speaker, Erik Voorhees. Can't wait to hear him. But, who are you most excited to see on this list?
Well, I have to agree with you on Erik Voorhees. That one's just going to be a blast. He is just such a passionate idealist, and in the way that is pro crypto values. So that's going to be fun. Me, I picked some niche candidates for like people I'd want to even try to meet. So Kristen Smith down there in the middle, she is the CEO of the Blockchain Association, which is a trade association that does a lot of lobbying for blockchain interests in Washington. And so she's one person that I'd really love to meet. And then the other person I would love, love, love to meet is the person who got me kind of started on my rabbit hole journey is Hester Peirce, who is right there on that second row. Would just be I wouldn't even have to say anything. I could just, stand there in awe, and that would be enough for me.
Yeah, Hester first. She's the one bright shining light we have for crypto in the SEC. I mean, she is the voice of reason when it comes to what's going on in this crazy government that we have right now. I mean, we've got, Gary that doesn't want to throw any clarity onto anything. And then we've got a bunch of other people from, the Elizabeth Warren anti-crypto army to, all kinds of other people. But I did hear Republican Tom Emmer speak, and he is just so pro-crypto. I was excited about that. I mean, when I was at ETH Denver, we heard the governor from Colorado come and talk about how they want every single blockchain project to be building on what they're doing in Colorado and Denver. And I was just like, wow, maybe moving to Denver wouldn't be such a bad thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
the list of speakers they got is numerous. I really want to hear Vance Spencer talk. He's one of the guys from Framework. He's really big into GameFi, and I know that you and I are both big into DeFi Kingdom. So I'm interested to hear Vance's take there. Framework is a very big VC, and they have a lot of money invested in Illuvium. So they
Yep.
really want to see Illuvium come out and be a huge hit, and I think it definitely can be. What are your thoughts on some of these guys, and is there anybody in particular that you want to hear from that you're like, this would be a really interesting chat?
Ooh. Well, I think Vance Spencer, I gotta agree with you. I've really liked enjoying the multiple. I've really enjoyed listening to the multiple episodes he's done on Bankless, and then other places I've gone and listened to him from there. His whole theses are really fun, and I like everything he said about GameFi. I think I've quoted it to my friends in the context of talking about DeFi kingdoms like 20 times.
Yeah,
Um, there's
yeah.
also you kind of mentioned Tom Emmer. I've used his voice in several songs that I've produced, kind of like taking clips of him on the congressional floor, just ripping into Chairman Gensler, and I get an infinite amount of entertainment from doing that. So just if there's anyone on Mr. Emmer's team who hears this, I just want you all to know I really appreciate the work you all are doing.
Definitely. One of my favorite podcasts, by the way, other than Bankless, is Bell Curve. And I love it when these guys get together. You've got Mike, Michael, Yano, and Vance, and they chat about everything DeFi. Of course, Mike and Yano are Blockworks guys, and then Frameworks is Michael and Vance. They're just an incredible foursome that just goes into it and just really is so insightful on the topics that we all want to hear about and we all want to understand a little bit better. So every time I get a chance to listen to Bell Curve, either the podcast on Apple iTunes or the actual YouTube channel as well, I definitely do. So if you haven't seen that, guys, give Bell Curve a shout out. They're a great podcast to listen to. I know. Have you heard them before?
So I have not heard them. I've listened to Vance. I've definitely read articles by some of these Blockworks guys, and this is really exciting for me to hear about because always am looking for more good content, especially highbrow crypto content. I feel like that's in a short supply. So this will be a fun one for me to add to my list.
Definitely. And you and I both love the Bankless podcast. And I've got my favorite episode that ever came out. It's Erik Voorhees versus SBF. This came out 1 week prior to FTX going under, and it really made me the biggest Erik Voorhees fan ever. I loved it. I mean, it's 2 hours long. If you haven't seen it, it went viral and just crushed the internet. I apologize that some of the audio isn't as great as it could be, but let's listen to this clip and then we'll talk about it on the way after.
Erik, let's go back to this high-level meta question. Same to you. You've heard Sam's response to this. Should crypto be regulated?
What a question. So I guess first let's consider that, like Sam's proposal, that a stablecoin itself should be regulated at least such that a provider has to prove that it has reserves for the tokens, would be a higher bar than the Federal Reserve itself already applies, right? The Federal Reserve does not prove anything inside it with any degree of auditability or attestability. Banks do not need to prove anything about what they do in any way that is cryptographically verifiable. Us in the crypto industry already have a higher standard of what constitutes knowledge, what constitutes proof. And so it is a little ironic for people from the traditional financial world imposing on us the need to be proving anything, right? We're the ones that prove it cryptographically. So on the point of like whether crypto should be regulated, it's also important to consider that it already is. Crypto is heavily regulated. I know Sam would agree with that. It's been regulated ever since the very beginning. It falls under all sorts of laws in all sorts of jurisdictions. And we dispense with this myth that it's like some void of regulation. I wish that were true. That would be my panacea, but it's not. It is encumbered already. Third, I guess I'll say that we have a highly regulated financial system, and we've seen where that status quo has gone. I think we in the industry should step back and ask ourselves, do we want the crypto financial ecosystem to move closer to the traditional financial world? Are we here because we love how that world looks and we want to make crypto resemble that world more? Or are we here because we're trying to build something better? And if it's the latter, I think we need to consider that the regulations are a huge part of why traditional finance has gone where it is now. So I'll leave it there for now.
Wow. What did you think about that? I mean, that was just the most powerful statement that I possibly could have heard from anybody. And I was just like so just taken back by everything. But you being an attorney, especially, I mean, how do you feel about like what Erik just said right there?
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to what Erik just said, and not just, on a very literal legal layer, but actually on several conceptual layers. So just starting at the top, there are certain things that are just illegal to do. So if I were to commit fraud, it doesn't matter if I used cryptocurrency or if I used a piece of paper or if I was carving it on stone tablets. If I lied to you to get you to give me money and I did it on purpose, that's illegal. That's a crime. And that's kind of been a crime for hundreds of years. There are these basic social norms that are embedded into the systems of common law that developed from England and the civil law that developed elsewhere in Europe. And they're very similar. And so to that extent, yeah, crypto is regulated. Everything that you're doing with a token, but to the extent that it is not novel conduct that humans haven't been able to do before, there's probably some sort of law that applies to it. But then if you go just a layer deeper, what is regulation? It's just, standards setting. If you're thinking about it on an industry level, right? What are automobile smog regulations really? They're just standards for emissions that they have to get updated every so often. We have similar things in crypto. We have the ERC20 standards. We now have the ERC4337 standard for account abstraction. And these are ways that allow these various smart contracts to be composable and interact with each other. Sure, they have a functional use, but it is also, in a way, regulation. It dictates information that has to be included in the smart contract, which is kind of something that, it's not the exact same, but it's relatable to what the SEC does. They demand disclosures of certain information. So in a way, it's a very naturally self-regulating industry due to the fact that everything relies on this interoperable code.
Definitely. And the great part about DeFi, which I love, and I think that you can attest to as well, is that smart contracts are immutable. So it takes out a lot of that opaqueness when it comes to, your transaction. You can read the code, you can see what's going on, and you can make a decision one way or another. It's not a contract written to deceive you. It's not something that you need to have an attorney review. I mean, you possibly could. You could have a coder, do an audit on it. But when you've got these smart contracts that are immutable and you know what they're going to do, and there's no, questions about it, there's no legalities, there's nobody going to be pointing fingers saying, oh, you took this from me because, you did something shady. No, it's just code, a piece of code running in the background. And I think it's going to help a lot of people in the financial system because they're not going to be as afraid as they are right now to give their money to somebody that they don't know and they don't trust and they don't know what they're going to do with it. But they can put it into this contract and they know exactly what it's going to do, what they should get from it, and how it works. So as a legal professional, I mean, it's just like, wow, I can't believe that there'll be a way that I can transact and financially trust something without having to have an attorney review. And I think that's just a
Right.
great part about DeFi.
No, I have to agree with you. It's really one of the best things about DeFi is the fact that you can just come in and know exactly what you're getting, as you say. And sure, it might be difficult for an average person to come in and read the code and determine whether there are any possible bugs or what have you, other security vulnerabilities. But that I feel like that is more objective and less, kind of a subjective judgment call than the kind of advice an attorney gives you when he's telling you what a term in a contract means, a real contract, because that's more kind of subject to interpretation, ambiguous. The code's going to function one way or another. It's just whether or not the code functions can be manipulated in ways that are unintended by the writer, right? So that's where the risk comes in.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that Erik points out is that regulation not only hurts the financial markets right now, because basically it benefits the incumbents. And usually that's what you see. And that's what SBF tried to do, right? Was tried to write the laws to help FTX benefit from them. And, the people that have the power and that have the monopolies and that have everything in place definitely want to have those laws put into place so that they don't get any competition. And I think that people need to understand that not all laws are beneficial for the general public, right? It's like some of them are written for the simple fact that, these people that can lobby the politicians to put into the laws whatever it is that they want, make it really difficult for any type of startup or any type of competition to ever get in and mess with their potential monopoly. You see that on Wall Street. You see that in all of our financial system right now, is that it's really difficult to compete. You can't go against a JP Morgan Chase, right? Because they're just too big. They can squash you with just a anything. It's just so crazy to me that people are like, oh, we need regulation for this, when regulation doesn't necessarily help you, and a lot of times it hurts the traditional financial system. So what are your thoughts on regulation? I mean, should we actually have it in DeFi?
Well, I have many complicated, nuanced thoughts on this one. In one sense, I view regulation related to DeFi as an inevitability because at some point it just there either has to be a law saying that like, hey, we're not gonna punish you for doing it, or that this kind of stuff is allowed, right? That would be like the most extreme version of just hands off by the government. But even if it does come to that, there's going to be a law to make that happen, right? So in some sense, the most kind of mid curve on the bell curve person could just be like, no, regulation bad, and would hate even that law. But to the extent that Erik was talking about how the traditional financial system was in many ways caused by the fact that it is so highly regulated. And what you're saying about the how a lot of it is protective of incumbents, I agree with all of that. It is our banks have essentially been deputized, right, to just provide information to the government, and they are subject to very, very tight rules, and it's the expenses of maintaining the records they have to maintain. That alone would put most businesses out of business. I mean, so it's just this entire huge moat, and a lot of it is done in the name of consumer protection or security, right? And banks are especially burdened more than other consumer products because of the fact that we have a lot of laws going back to the Bank Secrecy Act to the Patriot Act that are concerned and make it a very heavy, significant concern of the state and the prosecutors and those enforcing the laws to take care of and prevent any terrorist financing. That's what a lot of the additional expenses comes from.
Right, definitely. And I'm excited about going to Permissionless. One of the really things that excites me the most is that it's in Austin, Texas. Have you been to Austin before?
So I've not been to Austin. The closest I've come is Dallas.
Okay.
So
So
I'm excited though. Like the guy, I hear it's the place to be, right? It's a bustling city these days, and I'm really excited to go check it out and see what it's all about in Texas.
yeah, so the motto of Austin is "Keep Austin Weird," which we all
Ah,
love. That's the best part about it. Obviously, it's the home to University of Texas as well. So there's 40 plus thousand co-eds running around the streets of Austin on any given weekend night, and so we'll be there for a lot of the parties that are going on, a lot of the things that are happening. Sixth Street in Austin is tends to be the place to go, and what to do on any particular night. But the speakers we went through, some of the things that I think are going to be cool in Austin is I looks like they didn't have the agenda. The tickets, you guys, there's Bankless Citizens that are $600 right now. The general admissions $9.99 went up, but if you're a student, you can get in for $99, which is kind of nice. That
yeah,
makes it
that's huge.
affordable for some people. The technology partners
While we're
that they're
talking
having.
about ticket price, I'm sorry to talk over you, but Permissionless has this really cool setup, guys, where when they first announced it, which was almost a year out from when it's going to be, I think it was sometime in December or January, this previous one. The tickets are really, really cheap. I think they started in the mid 200s. So they go up over time as the event gets closer. And so if you do think you'd be interested in going to this next year, if not this year, keep an eye out for when the tickets first release because they are going to be much, much cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. So you can still get involved. They do want to have people that are sponsoring. They do want to have, volunteers as well to help out with the conference. That you can definitely do. There's some general things I wanted to hit on as well. I've got a interview coming up this Friday with the guys from Halliday, and I know that you had already interviewed the Halliday CTO. What were some of your takeaways from the interview you did with them? They're obviously wanting to bring billions of new users into GameFi and Web3. What did you like most about that interview?
Well, what you just struck on there, the fact that their goal is to bring in users to Web3. It feels like their whole mission statement is tackling the onboarding problem that has plagued like every aspect of decentralized finance, not just GameFi, really. And but talking to Griffin, their CTO, it sounded very genuine. Like they actually that is their goal, and it's exciting for me to see it happening. And one of the bigger takeaways for me that was I don't want to say surprising, but Yeah, pleasant surprise. Sure, I'll say that it was this account abstraction tool is not the first product Halliday's built. Halliday is not this some sprout that is just shot up right now, and it is a team that we don't know if they're gonna gel or have problems in 2 months. Once they get to know each other. This is a team that's been working together. They've built products. They've shown success in other areas, and that made me really bullish on their partnership with DFK because it's not just opportunists. Now that the technology has been figured out by someone else, it seems like people who are actually deep in the know and in the weeds on this stuff.
Yeah. Smart guys doing a lot of smart things. And if you guys haven't seen that, that's right here on Sticks Intern's YouTube channel. Go take a look. Great interview with Griffin. And I think you guys should go out there and take a look. Are you going to be doing some office hours tomorrow night as well?
Oh, I am. Yeah. I don't have a guest lined up, so I was planning on actually doing a breakdown of the Clayton governance proposal in detail and tackling some, truth or myth as to some things I've heard the community say. And in addition to that, I have some other content lined up, and but nothing really as significant. That's going to be the main act.
Cool. And make sure that if you haven't already, you get out to my YouTube channel and there we are right there, but take a look at what some of the content is that's currently out there when it comes to GameFi, what's happening behind the scenes. Be doing that on Friday with Griffin, and that'll be fun to talk to the Halliday guys to figure out how they're going to get all these additional people into GameFi. And I wanted to leave with just the featured speakers again. What's going to be going on? It's going to be so much fun, you guys. I mean, we're going to have a great time when it comes to hanging out in Austin, going through the convention, 7,000 other people that are all into big time DeFi. Web3 is where it's at. I mean, get your money out of banks. Get yourself into the permissionless economy where you own your assets, you custody them. Nobody can push a button and turn off your bank account. I mean, that's crazy to me that people can still do that. I mean, do you have any worries at all that at some point the financial system's just going to collapse and that we're going to look back and go like, why did we ever let it get this far?
I don't. Well, I do think one day people will look back and say, "How did it get this far?" I don't think it's going to be anything that happens fast, though. I think it's going to be one of those things that happens over time. If you've read the Isaac Asimov books, Foundation, how they describe the collapse of empire, it's just slowly at the edges until the empire still thinks it's going on, but it's just shrinking and shrinking. It's going to be something like that, where DeFi is going to gain relevance, and then the moment it starts taking market share, that's when the fall is going to begin.
It's inevitable. I mean, it's just like they keep printing trillions of dollars out of thin air. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. So I always am a little bit nervous when it comes to like people are like, oh yeah, I've got my money in a bank, or I've got my money over here or my money over there. I am going to be doing an interview probably next week too with a high net worth firm out of Switzerland, which I'm really excited about, where they're going to be self-custodying. Well, they're going to be custodying crypto for high net worth individuals that don't want to take that responsibility and do it themselves, which I can understand. I mean, there's definitely those companies out there that will take that responsibility for you. And, I know Coinbase custodies a lot of crypto as well, but they're, it's the time to start thinking about alternative assets and what you can do in order to protect yourself from what's going on in the world right now. Get some things that are finite, get some things that they can't print out of thin air. If that's Bitcoin, if that's Ethereum, if that's your favorite token out there, make sure that you do so. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts that you have for the audience, Sticks Intern, before we go here?
Well, my final thought is something that you triggered with what you're talking about there is crypto is inevitable because look, guys, this is an advancement in efficiency. Once we iron the kinks out, that is the equivalent of, having a paper instead of having to carve transactions and contracts on rock, right? It's just to grease the wheels of financial transactions so much that it is an inevitability. And I'm excited to go hang out at Permissionless with 7,000 other people who think the same way.
You and me both, brother. I'll see you here in a couple of weeks. I hope to see a lot of you out there as well. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter. We'll be hanging out. We'll be chatting about everything that's going on at the conference. We'll be partying. There's one party going on every single night, so that'll be fun as well. Anyway, guys, let's finish up for the evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you or someone you know is developing a Web3 project and would like to come on the show, please leave a comment down below or direct message me on Twitter. We can set up a time and talk about your project and how you're changing the world and allowing people to own their own digital assets on the blockchain. Until next time, here's another video that I'm sure you're going to love, and let's all help build a more decentralized world together. Thanks for watching.